Inbound Marketing Manager at Log My Calls, and we're really excited you're here. So thank you for attending today. First, just a few announcements before we turn the time over to Debra, and we're grateful that she's agreed to join us today. The presentation will be awesome, and so thank you, Debra, for joining us. First, a few announcements, though. The webinar is being recorded, so we encourage you to watch that recording after the fact, as well as share that recording within your organization and via social media. We'll email you the link to that recording bright and early tomorrow morning, so watch for that in your inbox and share that profusely. Second, we encourage you to ask questions during this webinar. So please just write those questions into the little question bar, and I will read those to Debra as they become relevant. So if she's talking about a subject that you have a question on, write the question in. I will go ahead. Debra's kindly given me permission to interrupt her with questions. So please ask those questions, write them down, and we will address those to Debra as we go through the webinar today. Then the last bit of announcements, if you will. Some people wonder, hey, who is Log My Calls? Why do you do these webinars? So the answers to those questions are as follows. Log My Calls is a call tracking and call analytics company. In other words, we work with marketers to track which campaigns, ads, and keywords actually generate phone calls and which don't, so marketers can spend their money more effectively. And then the other thing that our tool does is it actually analyzes the content of phone calls. So it extracts data like whether or not an appointment was set, whether or not a sale was made, whether or not a sales rep did a good job on a call or not. This is all done automatically at scale via speech recognition technology and literally hundreds of thousands of algorithms that we've built into this system. So that's how the tool works. Then some people wonder, hey, why do you guys do these webinars? And the answer to that question is we've had about 80 webinars now, and they're targeted towards marketers. Our audience is marketers of all types, and so we figured, hey, what better way to get them aware of Log My Calls than to do webinars with experts that have really, really good content. So that's what these webinars are, and that's the purpose. So with that, we want to introduce Debra today. We're really excited that she's agreed to join us. She's truly a marketing expert. She's the founder of Ellis Consulting. They work with marketers all over the country. She can tell you more about specifically what they do. But her expertise has been featured in the New York Times, CNN Money, and Marketing Profs, three giants, obviously. And so we're super excited that she's here today. Today's webinar is titled Creating the Best Experience for Customers and Clients. So Debra, thank you for joining us. Are you there?
I am here. Thank you, McKay.
Perfect. And I'm going to give you control of the screen now, Debra, so you should be able to show us your presentation. Perfect. I see it. It's beautiful.
Okay. Wonderful. I would like to thank everybody for joining us. I really appreciate the opportunity to share information with you. I have a lot of experience in this area. I started out designing warehouses, and then I kind of moved into customer service, and then ultimately moved into marketing. And I have been in your position. I have been a marketer. I've been a chief operating officer. So I know what it's like to try to get customers and clients and to keep them happy, although I will change that word shortly, but to keep them happy over time. And the title of this is Creating the Best Experience for Customer and Clients, but that's not really what we want to do as marketers. As marketers, what we want to do is to sell more products and services because that's how we get paid. So creating a good experience for customers is what gets us to our ultimate goal. So are happy customers the goal? I mentioned that we were going to talk about happy. We used to think that that if customer satisfaction was good, then everything was good. But happy customers are not the goal. Loyal customers are the goal. The Corporate Executive Board did a study of 75,000 B2C and B2B customers that had had customer experiences with companies from small to large, and they found some really interesting things. The ugly reality is that 20% of satisfied customers, these are people that identify themselves as satisfied with their experience, intend to leave. And 20% of dissatisfied customers intend to stay. So when you go through that, then you start to look at the difference between satisfaction and loyalty. And what they found was that the number one thing that increased satisfaction was an improved experience with the rep. The number two thing was the company provided wow moments. Those are those moments when you go out and you completely surprise the customer. You give them free shipping unexpectedly, or you do like Tony Shea at Zappos and expedite the shipping for some of the customers. And number three in satisfaction was reduced customer effort. But in loyalty, number one was reduced customer effort. The easier you made it for people to take care of whatever they needed to take care of, from the order process to the understanding of your products and services to the returns process, everything, the easier you make it, the more loyal they were. Improved experience with rep was number two, and providing wow moments was actually number three. So the effort we've put into providing these wow moments has really not paid off. The loyalty effect, the wow moments found that people were 12% more. But if they could resolve whatever issue they needed to resolve, whether it was making a purchase, solving a problem with an order, it had a 75% more loyalty effect. High effort went to 96% less. People want to solve their problems, and they want to solve them easily, and they really want to do it themselves. They want to go online, and they want to handle things without actually having to talk to anybody. And then low effort was 9% less. From the financial and social side, customers that identified themselves as loyal repurchased 94% of the time. They increased their spend 88% of the time, and the negative word of mouth was only 1% of the time. Customer behavior has changed. People really want those easy experiences more than they want exceptional ones. The good news for that is that it reduces your costs. It reduces your marketing costs. It reduces your operations costs. So providing simple and easy experiences, really, you've got to capture the information so that you know what your customers consider as simple and easy. Here's an example from Country Outfitter. I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that you can do, but I'm also going to show you how some people are doing it. People love giveaways, and contests and giveaways are very easy. I'm sorry if that message is showing up on you. Contests and giveaways are very easy ways to capture information. The better the prize, the more information that you can capture. Country Outfitter did this on Facebook. They give a boot away on a regular basis several times a month. In some cases, sometimes it's just once a month. The only information they ask for is your email address. But then once you've submitted that, then they tell you these are things that you can do. You make sure that you're a fan, you share this giveaway, and they thank you for entering, and they send you shopping with a $10 gift card. Another thing that you can do to simplify people's lives is to provide answers to questions that they, in some cases, don't even realize they have. This is an example from Living the Spa Life. They provide signs that your spa water needs changing, and they go through all of the details. And one of the things I run into when I suggest this to people is they say, well, you know, we're marketers. We're in the business to get sales. We're in the business we're not really in the business to provide service. Well, service is marketing, and marketing is service, and they have to be interchanged. They have to go together. In the course of this, I doubt you can read it, the fine print's very small, they tell you about a pre-filter, and at the bottom of this message, here's the pre-filter with the price, with a place to click, or you can call. So they've made it easy for customers to get to this by clicking or calling to make their purchase. Lowe's, this is one of my favorite examples. I get very excited with this. Lowe's took the opportunity to try to find out what people were working on, because you can market better to someone if you know exactly what they need. So they used the decision tree for this. This is just the top part of the message. There were actually 3 choices. And in it, it says, with spring right around the corner, we want to know what you'd like to see in your inbox. Tell us, and we'll send savings and tips for what you're working on. And then they have outdoor maintenance, and they have a place for you to click. This is me. Here's what their decision tree looks like. Outdoor maintenance, this is me. No. Outdoor living, this is me. No. Planning beauty, this is me. No. It's a very simple decision tree that doesn't really require people to think much. So after you make the decision, you make your choice, then the submit page provides a visual of information and a confirmation, and it gives you the opportunity to even narrow it down further. If you're into outdoor living, are you looking for power equipment, lawn and landscaping, paint, grills, garden center, or patio? Then when you click submit, it's much like Country Outfitter. They say thank you and offer you a visit to Lowe's.com. They do not offer you a discount here, but still, they're moving people to the site. They're keeping the process going forward. When you're analyzing behavior, what you want to look at is you want to look at the customer type. Are these traditional customers? Are they discount customers? Are they hit-and-run customers? Hit-and-run customers are people that purchase once or twice, and then they leave and they don't come back again. They serve a purpose, but if you overmarket to them, they're very, very expensive because you spend so much money marketing to them, you lose everything that you gain. Discount customers used to be disqualified from a lot of things because they only purchased when things were on sale, or when services were offered at a lower price. But we've come to realize that these people provide a very valuable service. On the product side, they help with the liquidation of inventory. On the service side, if you have slow times, then you can offer discounted services to these people so that you're filling those gaps that you have and subsequently increasing your revenue. You want to look at the category. People that are purchasing from particular categories or subsets tend to stay in those categories and subsets. You want to look at the channel. What channel are they using to communicate with you? What channel are they using to purchase from you, to make their transactions? What channel are they using to communicate with others if you have access to that information? And finally, you want to look at their value. We talked about the value of discount customers and hit-and-run customers, but your traditional customers, you want to look at their lifetime value, and you want to break that down by channel, because you will find that different channels have customers that provide substantially different lifetime values. When you're using technology, you want to think simple and easy for both you and for your customers or clients and prospects. In this particular case, we're looking at email marketing. You have the trigger emails that provide educational information, services, policy, and industry changes. You have the transactional emails, which tend to be very cut and dry, But if you haven't had the opportunity to see the CD Baby transactional email, it was written by the founder, Derek Silvers, and he has said that it is simply the best email he ever wrote. He spent 30 minutes writing it, and it tells a story of how the CD travels through and ultimately gets to the customer. Well, people were so enamored with that transactional email, they started posting it online. They started sharing it with their friends, and it was one of the things, it was a catalyst that helped that company grow more than anything else they did. Reminder emails are, again, you're providing a service to people. You're making things easy for them. So let them know that it's time for a service update. Let them know about events that are happening. Remind them of birthdays and holidays and that type of thing. And with consumable products, you can use the reminder emails to guesstimate about when people are going to be finished with the product and just say, you know, you might be getting a little bit low on those items. It could be a good time to reorder. You have to be careful, though. You really do not want to make that creepy. On consumption emails, this isn't talking about the consumption of consumable products. This is the best opportunity, and it can be done via email, it can be done via text messaging, it can be done over the phone. Find out how people are liking your products and services. It's really, really scary. I've made those phone calls just to ask people, did we do a good job? Or sent those emails, and sometimes the answers are painful, but the answers will help you grow your business. It will help you improve that customer experience. So follow up after every transaction to make sure that people are actually happy with the products or services and they're actually consuming them, because well, a really good example of that is software. People buy software and then they never install it, they never use it. So it is really, really hard to sell an upgrade when people haven't used the product to begin with. Build-A-Bear knows their customers extremely well, and they create experiences on every channel. This is actually the start of an email. It's the top part, and you can see there's 8 links in there. I've numbered them. The total email has over 20 links, and every one of them is an experience. They make things so easy that if you click the Facebook link, it automatically populates it. So you can choose to write something, or you can simply just share the link. On Twitter, same situation. It's already pre-populated with all the information. The pre-population serves another tool. It allows you to search and monitor what people are doing easier too, because you can do specific keyword searches. Then the same thing for Pinterest. And all of this came from one click. And the idea of keeping the customer experience easy, you want to make it easy for people to make their purchase. You want to reduce the number of steps that's required to complete this purchase. Now, Amazon recognized this a long, long time ago, back in, I think it was 1999, might have been 1997. They knew that being able to make a purchase with one click would streamline the process and reduce the opportunities for people to be distracted and simply go away. So what they did is they patented that one-step process. And the patent expires in 2017, so no one else can actually do that now, but you can make it as simple as possible and do 2 clicks, 3 clicks, whatever's required to get them to the right step. The second thing you want to do is you want to always take people to the right place. You don't want to take them where they're going to have to search and find what they're actually looking for. Once you get someone to take that step to move forward with a phone call, with a click, whatever they're doing, you want them to have access to the people or the landing page that they need to finish whatever they're doing. This is whether they're trying to buy or they're trying to resolve an issue. And you want to be mobile friendly. We will talk in a moment about the importance of the mobile side of it. This is an offer from JCPenney, and it's a sale. All 3 items are $96, and it has a place where you can click to shop aquamarine, but when you click that, the only thing that's visible is the bracelet, and the bracelet is shown in a different way, so it's kind of hard to recognize that the bracelet is there. So the necklace and the ring are not visible at all. You have to go to page 2 to see them. Then when you get into the bracelet, then you have to make a decision and you add it to your bag at that point in time. So the purchase process takes several clicks, which gives people opportunities to be distracted by their kids, their coworkers, or whatever happens to be around. A simple change for this is to add just buy now under each item. It doesn't change the way it looks. It doesn't change the creative side very much. The arrows wouldn't be there. I just put the arrows there so you could see it. But by adding that and taking it directly to the landing page for that specific item, they have a choice of shopping all of the aquamarine, or they go to the item that is featured. Moving into mobile, there's a lot of talk about how important mobile is, and it is, because on the email side, unique opens for mobile. 50% of the people are opening their emails today on mobile-only devices. 3% are doing a combo where they go mobile and desktop, or mobile and webmail, or mobile and some other, although I have to say I don't really know what that other is. Desktop only is at 23%. Webmail only is at 23%. So if your emails are not mobile friendly, then people can't see it. But what about your website? What about the things that you're putting on the social platforms? Well, on Facebook, their recent annual report shared that 78% of the daily users access Facebook via their mobile devices. Well, that's scary for marketers, especially marketers who have tricked out their Facebook pages. Because if you're on the mobile apps, you can't see the tabs. If you have a contest tab, if you have an email acquisition tab, whatever tabs you've created, they're invisible on the mobile side. And one thing else that they're doing with the Facebook is on some devices, if you click an external link, then you get, this may be a malicious link message that comes from Facebook and gives you the option of going back to Facebook or ignoring that. They're testing that right now, but it's a scary proposition because it means pretty much whatever's on Facebook is going to have to kind of stay on Facebook. And getting ready for e-commerce, one of the first things that you need to know is the difference between the tablet, the smartphone, and the SMS m-commerce. They are very, very different. It's not only a difference in screen size. People who are accessing sites via tablet behave very differently from people that access the websites via the desktops or the smartphone. You want to shop your business using different devices and browsers so you see what your customer is experiencing. You need to think small screens, big fingers, because it's very hard to manipulate on that. A few people, as in a handful, use styluses that make it a little easier, but you really, really, really have to make it easy for people to use the mobile. And you want to open your company's emails using smartphones and tablets, because if you're doing a splash image that has your entire offer there, pretty much all people are going to see, depending on what type of device they have, is a little red X or a blue question mark. You want to make sure that you have a call to action, even if that call to action is simply download pictures, so people know what to do next. This is really the gist of the customer experience thing. People need to know what they should do and how to do it. The better instructions that you have for them to go from point A to the point you want them to be, the more likely they're going to complete that path. You want to create a prioritized Get Mobile Ready list, because odds are, unless you're doing cutting-edge technology, you're not mobile ready. So you need to go in and define what's most important for your customers. You can go into your analytics to see how people are accessing your site and your emails, and from that you can make the judgment call of what needs to be done first. You need to get responsive. That is closer to the end, because there's responsiveness is important, but it shouldn't, in a lot of cases, it shouldn't necessarily be the first thing, because it can be very expensive to redesign things, and there are a lot of things that you can do before you get to that point. And then, as always, you want to test and measure and move yourself forward one step at a time. Here are some tips. I want you
Debra?
to know your, yes.
So a couple questions on mobile. Where do you think people should start? I mean, they make the list. You mentioned get responsive is down the line a bit. What do you think the first 2 or 3 steps should be? Because I think people are a lot of people are kind of overwhelmed by the whole mobile thing, and they don't really know where to start. Any advice on that?
The first place I would start, if you have a strong or a good email list, is with your email messages. Because I'm amazed at I subscribe to a lot of emails, of course, monitoring what people are doing, and I'm amazed at the number of emails that I receive from huge companies that are just completely not readable on my mobile devices. And you have to think about with the emails, if you're doing a lot of imagery, then people, if you want them to download it, then if they're doing it on a smartphone without a Wi-Fi connection, they're having to pay for that download. And people are aware of that. They're watching their costs. So the first place I would start would be with the email and getting it right. If you would like some examples of, or an example of somebody who does the email really well, is my Coke Rewards. It's a Coke Reward program for the little codes that you have. They do a fantastic job with their email messages and making them mobile friendly, and still having the imagery and without extending the cost to the people. The second thing that I would look at, and again, it would, in this particular case, it would depend on the company, but I would look at the the text marketing, because the SMS is really underutilized right now. It can be a little scary because there's a lot of rules that go around it, but most of the providers have a good handle on the rules, and they're not going to let you do something that isn't it's going to get you in trouble with the FCC. But if people are opting into that, when people opt into that, you know they're loyal because they're paying for that text message, and whether they're paying unlimited, they have unlimited, or they're paying per text, they're still paying for it in some form or fashion, and they want to hear from you. And that would be the two places I would start first.
That's great. Good. That's a fantastic answer. Yeah, keep going, and as more questions arise, I'll keep interrupting you.
Okay, no problem. I've talked a lot about making it easy. One of the things that I think is underutilized is the mommy factor, and by mommy factor is most of us have moms, and a lot of the moms, particularly the older ones, may not be particularly savvy on the new technology and that type of thing. So have somebody that completely unrelated to your business go in and experience your business. Do they understand what you're doing? Do they understand what you're offering? Do they understand how to make a purchase? Do they understand how to make a phone call? And I know they literally know how to make a phone call, but the contact us is really a pet peeve of mine, because finding the contact us information on a lot of websites is very close to impossible, and then you have to go through a series of questions before you get to the call. We've tested this with their clients, and we have yet to have an experience with a client that is serving customers well to have an increase in calls by making it easy for them to have, for people to access the 800 number. I strongly recommend that 800 number be put on every page, because while there may be a bump in the calls, there's a huge bump in sales. It's a trust factor. People look at that and they say, if I have a problem, this is where I can go. Adding the option for a live chat is a good option, which I would have told you. In fact, I told some of my clients in the 90s, you do not want that because it's just creepy. And at that point in time it was, but it's been fine-tuned and it's become accepted. So having that option is really good, as long as you're not honing people with it. You want to make it as easy as possible for people to find out anything they need to know about your business in order to complete whatever they're doing, whether it's making a return, whether it's making a purchase, whether it's finding out how to do something. If you're in the service industry, where you are the parts industry, it's amazing. Go on YouTube and look, and you can find out how to fix most any car, most any washer and dryer. And now that you can add links in the YouTube messages, it's perfect. This is the part, this is how you troubleshoot, this is the part you need, and oh, by the way, here's where you click to get that part. And there will always be a segment of the population that will go out and look for the best price. But in the study that was done by the Corporate Executive Board, they found that price was not the issue. The issue was how simple was the process and how easy was it to get to the resolution they needed. Test everything. I can sit here and I can tell you until the cows come home what works for this client and what works for that client, but what I will also tell you is what works for client A may be a dismal failure for client B. You have to test it to see if it works for you. And when I say test everything, people get caught up in this whole, when should I post? When should I email? What's the optimal time? Yes, there's an optimal time, but I often chuckle to myself about this because they're obsessing about the optimal time when they're not posting enough, they're not emailing enough, and they're not sending the messages that their customers, clients, and prospects want to receive. So before you get into the minute details, what you really want to do is you want to get the big picture in place and get those processes in place. Use the element of surprise, whether it is offering a discount for a customer that's had a very bad experience, or upgrading the shipping, whatever it is, periodically throw in that element of surprise. And overall, offer self-service. The more self-service you can offer, the better, because one, people like it. Two, once it's in place, it's very cost-effective for you. And just basically, the better you can make it, the better it is for all parties. And then personalize. The technology is there so that you can send out personal messages to people very economically. Use that technology so that people know that you're speaking specifically to them. And when I'm talking about personalizing, I'm not talking about the insert name here. I'm talking about looking at what people have purchased in the past, anticipating their needs, offering suggestions, offering solutions that's directed to them. It's still a matter of business rules, and it's a matter of getting everything configured and set up properly, but you can do that very economically these days. And finally, what other questions do you have?
That was awesome. And to piggyback off what you said a moment ago, Deborah, I think you're right. I think people sometimes spend too much time worrying about the minutia of things, and in reality, they need to just do stuff. And good things happen the more actions you take, and worry about the optimization later. Could you expound on that a little bit? Because I think that was a really interesting point. I think people spend too much time worrying about when precisely to send emails or publish blog posts and that sort of thing.
Well, I'll take it just a little step further. As opposed to looking too much at the details, they also look externally when they should be looking internally. There's an awful lot of talk about what your competitors are doing, and people are looking to see this strategy versus that strategy that someone else is doing, and they have no way of knowing whether that's going to benefit them or not because they don't understand their customer. They don't understand their customers. My first rule of business is know your customers. My second rule of business is know your business. And it seems like almost no-brainers, but people don't get into those details to learn which customers are doing this, which customers are doing that. There's a reliance on technology, the reports that are generated. They're spit out, and you look at the summary of the reports without looking at the raw data. And this is kind of counterintuitive to the don't get into the details that we kind of started talking about. But what happens when you go in and you look at the raw data, when you're trying to learn about your customers, your brain works so much better than a computer, and it picks out little things, and it kind of all adds it up together. And I know when I've been going through, because I do look at raw data, I've noticed that, you know, I keep seeing this item being purchased a lot, or that with this other item, that doesn't show up in the rules or in the reports because the business rules aren't in place to compare those two items. So what I would suggest to people is that they spend less time obsessing about the perfect time to get the message out and more time obsessing about what's the perfect message for our customers.
And your point too, and there's a couple of good questions on this, is in order to figure out what the correct message is, we ultimately have to listen to the customers to begin with. You talked about that a little bit. Can you expand just a little bit more? There are a couple questions regarding this on best ways to get feedback from customers, to hear from them whether or not you're providing the experience that they want, or should you just use the data in that to do that?
Oh, you've got to talk to the customers and use the data. You can't do either one individually because the data doesn't show feelings, and customers have feelings. But if you just specifically send out a survey to customers, people lie. They answer, not intentionally. They're not trying to mislead you, but there's a thing in human nature that makes people want to provide the right answer, so they answer the questions in the way they think the surveyor wants it to be answered. So you've got to look at what they say, and you've got to look at what they do. When I was Chief Operating Officer at Ballard Designs, we had a marketing team would spend regular times monitoring calls coming into the customer service department. Because when the customer service team would put together a listing of complaints, it was simply a listing of complaints. But when the marketing team would actually audit the calls, then they could hear the frustration in the voices. They could hear the challenges that people were having. They could hear the things that people loved about it. So by going through that process, they walked away with, one, a better understanding of the customer. But I don't remember a single time that we had that set up that the marketing team didn't come to me and say, listen, we've got some great ideas of how we can expand. And we want to talk to the merchandising team because they have, here are some challenges that we've seen and here are some opportunities.
That's great. Tell me what your thoughts are on surveys and things like that, sending those to customers, and have you seen effective uses of that and ineffective uses of that? Talk to us a little bit about those, because I think everybody is tempted at times to send a survey to their customer base and get feedback or their prospects. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Of course. Surveys can work. You need to keep the questions certainly no more than 10, but 5, especially if it's on the phone. 5 works much better. They just seem to be magic numbers in the results that you get and the people willing to participate. You need to also tell people that how many questions they're going to be so they know where they are in the process. And you need to provide an opportunity for them to ad-lib. A lot of the surveys out there are simply check this box. Is it between here and point A and point B? How was their service, with 1 being terrible and 5 being great? You need to ask the question why. And when you ask the question, it takes a lot longer for you to tally the results, but the responses that you get are very enlightening. Another question to ask is, what would you suggest we do to improve? Everybody wants to be an expert, so your customers will share that information with you. Not everybody. Don't make it mandatory that they do it. But by providing that ad-lib opportunity, then you get a better insight to the survey information.
That's great. Well, that's been fantastic stuff, Deborah. Thank you for your time today, and everybody, thank you for your attendance and your time as well. as we said, we'll send this this webinar recording, out to you tomorrow morning, so you have access to that. It'll also be published on our site, logmycalls.com/webinar, logmycalls.com/webinar. And I should mention as well, we've got about 80 webinars there. Free content. You don't even need to fill out a form to watch the webinars. So please go there and take advantage of that content. Debra, any final words before we close today?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for participating, and I would say if you have any questions about what we've covered or anything on marketing and service in general, please feel free to email me. I promise I won't give you a sales pitch. I'll just simply answer your question.
That's great. Debra, thank you for your time. It was really good stuff on a variety of subjects, and we really appreciate it. So thanks again, Debra, and thank you, everybody, for attending today. And come back next week. We've got a couple more additional great webinars. So thanks again.